Hello and welcome to my Contemporary Music Maker project. In this video, I will be explaining the development, organization, and final product of a musical project spanning many performances, iterations, and months. The original vision for this project was to arrange a version of my high school's alma mater to celebrate the 100th anniversary of my school's founding. To do this, I would need to arrange and rearrange this alma mater to be performed in a concert band setting, unlike the marching band setting it is usually performed in. The final product of this project consists of a major performance at my state's Music Educators Association festival that is the culmination of months of composing, practicing, and rehearsing made by myself and my school's varsity band. My musical goals during this project were to learn and refine my arranging skills. I also wished to understand how to arrange for different styles of wind band and learn the process required not only to compose a piece of music, but also promote it and see it performed live. So, why did I want to do this project? Firstly, the final performance of the alma mater would greatly be in tandem with my school's centennial celebration, which would last throughout the school year. My ambitions were to create a piece of music that represented my high school and was an emotional testament to any graduate or current student who would hear it. The overall nature of this project simulated the time, effort, and commitment needed to realize the performance of a self-composed piece of music. In order to perform a piece of this scale, I needed the help of many people in order to make this project succeed. I needed the members of my high school's varsity band, which was around 100 students in total. I needed the help of my band director and the assistant band director. I needed the help of the percussion section coach. And as I said previously, the performance would be greatly in tandem with my high school's centennial celebration, so I would need to coordinate with faculty and staff from my school. Despite the vast number of people I was working with, the majority of the responsibilities for this project were on me. I was the sole arranger and editor of this piece, and I frequently provided musical insight during rehearsals. I took a great time communicating my musical ideas not only to the students, but to the band directors and faculty to ensure the success of the performance in tandem with the centennial celebration. As the section leader of my percussion section, I also led and mentored my section. Another role that was unexpected to me going into this project was my role promoting the performance to faculty, alumni, and current students. To achieve this performance, I also needed some resources. Firstly, I needed a space to perform. My initial ideas were to perform alma mater in one of the auditoriums of my school, so that it would be easy and familiar for current students and alumni to see the performance. However, about halfway through this project, my band director presented me with the opportunity to perform my piece in a professional concert hall during my state's Music Educators Association festival. I gladly accepted this opportunity. This concert hall would be managed by professional light and sound engineers who would make sure to bring my performance to the next level. Unfortunately, due to me being a high school student, I was unable to collaborate with them personally and often had to talk to them through my band director. Percussion instruments required for this piece would also have to be moved to this new performance location. The loading, unloading, and organization of these instruments was led by me and my band director. And in terms of actually arranging and editing the piece, I implemented a staff notation software that I am very familiar with, MuseScore. So in terms of the actual timeline going into this project, the project brainstorming and planning between me and my band director took around 5 hours in total. Researching how to arrange and finding arrangements to use in Alma Mater took me about 3 hours. The bulk of the arranging took around 15 hours. Rehearsal time took 20 hours. Um, the final performance was around a 2 hour ordeal in total. And as I said previously, moving equipment, coordinating students took around 3 hours. And in terms of making this final project, this took me around 10 hours. So in total, that leaves us with 55 hours of total work time. So with this plan in mind, the first step of this process was to arrange the piece. My band director sent me a score of the alma mater via MuseScore in early July. Here is the original version of the alma mater that is playing right now. The alma mater is very similar to many other alma maters. It is a 16-bar chorale-like piece in F major. As you can see, my first step while arranging this piece was to do some simple harmonic analysis to ground myself and not start entirely from scratch. One of the first problems I discovered while listening to the original version of this piece was the length of it. With alma mater only having 16 measures, I initially felt that I did not have enough musical substance to create a fully fledged arrangement. I overcame this problem by splitting the piece into 4-bar sections, each containing a phrase beginning and ending with an F major chord. With this F chord both beginning and ending every phrase, I could easily move around and repeat the sections to see what could fit without worrying about writing different transitions from section to section. During my time arranging, my director gave me a couple of tips that would guide my arranging process. Firstly, she wanted me to feature both the brass and the woodwind sections at different points in the arrangement. She also wanted to implement chimes into the piece as they would mimic the bells of my school's famous bell tower. Here is the first draft of the alma mater that I arranged. I decided to begin the piece with a trumpet solo, echoed by chimes to mimic a soul student coming to my high school. I then added in the rest of the brass section from highest to lowest pitch to elicit the image of more students and alumni joining them. This short brass section contains the same melody and chord structure of the first two 4-bar phrases of the original alma mater. I kept many of the chord voicings similar to the original, with some more interesting counter melodies thrown in, like the 8th-note lick in the French horn/mellophone. I used the final two 4-bar phrases to echo the brass feature in the woodwinds, with some percussion accompaniment to add texture and match the volume of the brass. Similar to the brass feature, I began with the highest pitch instruments in the section, piccolo, flute, and clarinet, before adding lower instruments. In the saxophone section, I added a counter melody with harmony to mirror the main original line. For the percussion accompaniment, I stayed relatively simple and matched mallet instruments to certain woodwind instruments when they had an important part. The glockenspiel matched the piccolo, the two marimba parts matched the tenor and baritone sax, and the vibraphones matched the alto saxophones. After an intermittent 4-bar section, which I will address later, there is the climax of the piece and the inclusion of all instruments at a forte or louder dynamic. In this section, the wind instruments mimic the sound of chimes at the beginning of the climax with loud, accented attacks. The climax then leads to a bar of 5/4 which ends on a very dissonant E-flat, flat 5 chord, with the rest added afterwards to increase tension. The chord then resolves to a G minor chord with the simple 2-5-1 GCF progression ending the piece. The chimes continue and slowly fade out. The segments of the alma mater that I have shown so far will stay consistent and mostly unchanged throughout the many arrangements and rearrangements of the piece that I had to do. This first iteration of the 4-bar intermittent section contains a chord progression taken from the song Blue Skies by Irving Berlin. My band director specifically asked me to quote Blue Skies as it is part of our marching band show and because navy blue is one of my school's primary colors. The initial chord of A minor, while diatonic in F major, is a surprise from the major tonality of the sections before. The section lacks high woodwinds and makes use of a chromatically descending bass line, which gives this section a dark and menacing sound. It is because of the darkness in this section that caused my band director to ask me to change this section to something more uplifting to match the message of this piece. My band director asked me to replace the chords from Blue Skies with a section from an arrangement of Good Riddance that we also performed on our marching band show. The resulting 4-bar section that I quoted from Good Riddance ended up being much more joyful, and it honestly worked better with the key signature, as the arrangement of Good Riddance was an F major as well. This second draft of the alma mater was the first of my drafts to actually be performed, as the varsity band performed this version of the alma mater during an alumni celebration football game and a local band festival. That is why there are marching instruments in the first and second arrangements of the alma mater, like mellophone, sousaphone, and the lack of instruments such as double reeds, bass clarinet, French horn, and tuba. Here's a video of my high school's marching band performing the second draft of my alma mater at a local band festival. You'll notice some interesting aspects about this performance that are different than how I initially arranged it. Although I arranged for a variety of concert percussion, due to the lack of equipment to move all the instruments and the possibility of rain damage, very little of the concert percussion was used during the marching band performances, and vibraphone was used to mimic the important chimes part. Another aspect of the marching performance that is different from the arrangements I made was the choice by my band director for the entire band to sing the trumpet solo. There was also a simple marching percussion part that was added to help the band march better in time. After the marching band season ended, I had to remove the marching instruments and all of my arrangements and add in the concert instruments. It was at this point in the development of the final draft of the alma mater that my band director presented me with the opportunity to perform my arrangement at a professional concert hall, which I accepted. My band director also asked me to rearrange the alma mater for a second time, to something other than Good Riddance or Blue Skies, as marching band was over and the 4-bar intermittent section no longer needed to include any thematic material. When arranging this intermittent section of the alma mater for the third time, I found it much harder to come up with an idea on what to write and include for the final performance of my arrangement. My friend who plays flute in the band was on a phone call with me while I was brainstorming and trying to come up with ideas, and she suggested that I implemented aspects of my school's fight song. I loved this idea, and so did my band director when I showed her the final product. Here is an old video of some now alumni playing my high school's fight song in the front yard of our school. This fight song, like the alma mater, is very standard for high schools and universities as old as my own. It has a clear melody and counter melody, and simple rhythmic percussion. Just like the alma mater, I would need to change the instrumentation to a concert band instrumentation. I would also need to figure out how to integrate aspects of the fight song into my arrangement, just like how I incorporated Blue Skies and Good Riddance. I included aspects of both the fight song and the original alma mater. The main melody of this section was taken from the fight song, and can be seen in the piccolo and first clarinet. Many instruments such as the first flute, oboe, first trumpet, and bassoon have a very similar part which acts as a harmony and supports the main line. The lick that I wrote for the alma mater in the French horn and alto saxophone can be seen again in this section. I also wrote the percussion accompaniment in the same way, matching mallet instruments to wind instruments. Now with this final draft complete, I returned the draft to the band directors and we started rehearsing for the concert. After many weeks of rehearsing and arranging, my arrangement of my high school's alma mater was performed at a professional concert hall on Friday, February 23, 2024. The performance had an audience of around 100 people who showed up early at 8 a.m. to see my work. Overall, my project was a total success, and in many ways I exceeded my initial, more realistic expectations. Although the arranging was amateur and my high school band is not their president's own, the hours of dedication and work from the students, staff, and faculty led to a performance that I will never forget. Please enjoy the final performance of my arrangement.